Hello everyone, my name is Minja and in this video I'm going to tell you my story about the journey from Qatar Airways to Oman Air.
Cabin crew, take your seats for takeoff.
I used to work as a cabin crew with Qatar Airways only for 5 months after I got terminated, and later on in the video you would be able to hear a story about that. Currently, I am working as a cabin crew in company Oman Air, and Oman Air is national airline of Sultanate of Oman, country located in the Middle East, in southeastern part of Arabian Peninsula. I am here 3 years and a little bit more. Before I start story about Qatar Airways and termination, I want to tell you my experience with my very first open day. My first open day was back in January 2013, and I remember it was with Qatar Airways, and of course I was full of hope, I was excited, and I thought I'm going to pass from the first time, like I am perfect candidate for this job. However, I even didn't pass the civil job phase. And I was really sad, but what to do? Then in 2013 I tried also Emirates, Etihad, but I didn't make it. And then in September I reached the final interview with the national airline of my country, Air Serbia. And after final interview I got rejection mail. In 2014 I didn't give up. I went for so many open days, assessment days with all mentioned airlines, but I didn't make it. So, why I'm telling you this? 2013 I failed. 2014 I failed again, but I didn't give up.
I believe I can fly.
I didn't give up, and I knew I'm not perfect candidate for this job. And what I realized, I met so many different people during all those open and assessment days, and somehow you can put them in 4 different groups. So in the first group, I would put people who have that X factor, and they're really lucky because they will pass from the very first try. In the second group, I would put people who would pass after 3rd, 4th or 5th attempt. And what I think is that they just needed some time to get relaxed. In the third group, I would put people like myself, like people who need to fake it until they make it. And that's what I did. And then in the last 4th group, I would put people who gave up. So please, just don't give up. If this job is your dream, don't give up. Keep attending open days, assessment days. Try to think what you can improve to make yourself better, to make yourself like a more valuable candidate for this job, and then go for next open day or assessment day.
I believe I can fly.
My personal experience, and I will tell you honestly, like in total I had 20 to 25 attempts with different airlines, and I do work this job just because I didn't give up. So please don't give up. One more time, don't give up. Because if you don't give up, your lucky day will happen like it happened for me. Finally, in 2015, in April, I made it to the end with Qatar Airways. And finally, my dream came true. In August 2015, I joined the best airline in the world, Qatar Airways. And then I had my 2 months initial training. And of course, it was intense because it was my first time to learn something in English and also first time to learn some words about aviation. We had to learn about safety, security, first aid and service. And after training was over, we started flying. We had beautiful layovers at beautiful destinations, but unfortunately that didn't last for long. Because in January 2016, so 3 months after I started flying, I got terminated. And you know what? I cannot tell you what was the reason for termination, as they never told me. But what I can tell you is what I think that was the problem. So, I'm married and I was married that time, and they knew that I'm married as I sent them the marriage certificate before I joined the company. So, during my initial training, my husband, he got a job in Doha and he also came to Qatar. During my initial training, I couldn't have visitors in my company accommodation, but after training was over, I could have male visitors in company accommodation. And in Qatar Airways they have a lot of rules, but I'm not going to tell you about other rules. I will just share this one, which is important for my story. And as I was working there 5 years ago, please take this rule and the numbers with reserve, because I don't know if the rule changed or if the timing changed, whatever. Just if you want to check, Google it or try to ask people who are working in Qatar Airways. However, going back to my termination, as my husband was not allowed to stay overnight in my company accommodation, and I was not allowed to sleep outside of the company accommodation even during your day off. So I went to housing department to ask them if there is any possibility for me to stay out of accommodation, to sleep out of accommodation, or if my husband can sleep in my accommodation, of course, if my flatmate agrees. And they told me that he is not allowed to stay overnight in my accommodation, but I can go and sleep in his accommodation. But first I need to apply for that, and what I needed to do is to upload some documents related with my husband in our online system. And I did that, and after 14 days, so after 2 weeks, my request was still in progress. Then I went to welfare again to check what is going on with my request, and the lady told me that I need to go to welfare department. I went to welfare department and they told me that I need to give a cabin crew statement where I'm going to mention about my husband, when did he come to Doha, what does he work, and so on. And I did that, and they told me they're going to send that statement to human resources and I will be informed. And then 3 or 4 days after I came back from the night flight, I got SMS from my performance manager that I need to come to the office as soon as possible as she needs to meet me. Somehow I felt that it's something bad, but I thought maybe it's like passenger complaint or something like that, because what I knew and what I was like 100% sure that I didn't break any kind of rules. And in Qatar Airways they really had a lot of rules. And then she told me that human resources, they don't want to continue my contract. And of course I asked why, what is the reason, because I knew that I didn't do anything wrong. So basically, in January 2016, my journey with Qatar Airways was over. What I think that problem was that I was still in probation period, and I asked that thing in first 6 months, so probation period is 6 months, and that was my mistake. Of course, I felt broken, sad, angry, like mixed emotions, and I don't think that was fair. After 2 years and a half, it took me 2 years and a half to start working that job, and then someone suddenly just decided to stop my contract, to terminate me without any explanation. And that was not the end. What is even worse than this is that I needed to pay them. When you sign the contract, there is something called service bond. And service bond is actually amount of money that company will invest in your training. So every month from your salary, they're gonna deduct a little bit of your salary for 2 years. And then, if you stay in the company for 2 years, after you complete 2 years, they're gonna pay you that amount of money back. But if you leave the company before 2 years, you need to pay them difference. So, like in my case, as I was there just 5 months, and I needed to pay them difference until 2 years, which is 19 months. So, can you imagine that? Being terminated without explanation, leaving my dream job, leaving my husband, and need to pay them that service bond difference. Really bad. And that's it. My story with Qatar Airways is over. And now you know why I got terminated and how was that. But you know, show must go on. And I came back to Serbia, and then after 5 months, my husband, he came back as well. And then in July 2016, we moved to Erbil, city in Kurdistan part of Iraq. We used to work there in a fitness club for 7 months. Why for 7 months? Because I felt that I want to do this job again. I missed flying, I missed lifestyle, I missed traveling, and then I decided to try one more time. So in November 2016, while we were still in Iraq working in that fitness club, I saw advertisement for Oman Air. And Oman Air, they made the assessment day in Greece, Bosnia and Albania. And I told my husband, I need to try it. This is my last try. And I felt somehow that I need to give myself one more chance. So, going back to the previous story, please don't give up, as I'm here now, working in Oman Air. But let me tell you about the assessment day. I knew nothing about Oman Air, but I managed to get some information from some crew that they're working there, that they have their freedom, they have a private life. So I decided to try. And for me, the most important thing was that I can have my private life. And then I went to Bosnia for assessment day in December 2016, and I made it to the end. So I did it. And in February 2017, while we were still in Iraq, I got the contract. Then we decided to leave Iraq, we came back to Serbia, and then in April 2017 I joined Oman Air. And in meanwhile, of course, my husband, he also got the job in a fitness club, and he came to Oman 3 days before me. So we had a perfect timing. At the beginning, I used to live in a company accommodation, but from the very first day I realized that you have in this company freedom, and no one will put their nose like in your private life. If you want to sleep somewhere during your day off, you can do it. If you want to go out during the night, you can do it. So rules are here in Oman Air much more relaxed than in Qatar Airways, And for sure, you can have your private life and you can enjoy as you want. The only thing that is important here is that you need to come for your duty on time and to perform well. There is one thing that is more strict in Qatar Airways, like in a crew company accommodation, you are not allowed to have male visitors at all. So in Qatar it was allowed, but here in Oman Air it's not allowed. But anyhow, you're not obliged to sleep in company accommodation, so it's really fine. So now we are living here in Oman for 3 years and 1 month, and we love it.
I believe I can fly.
So that is it basically. Long story short, I hope. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And thank you for watching if you reach all the way to the end. In the next episode, I'm going to have my first guest. So that's it. See you soon. Bye bye.
Cabin crew, take your seats for landing.